Greetings, dear viewers. This is George from Ireland. Here I am in London at the house that John F. Kennedy lived in from 1938 to 1941. You may know that his father, Joseph P. Kennedy, was the American ambassador to the Court of St. James. The official residence of the British royal family is St. James's Palace, not Buckingham Palace. It's a common misconception. So St. James is a small medieval palace just across the street from Buckingham Palace. So foreign ambassadors are always styled ambassador to the Court of St. James. Anyhow, this was the residence of the US ambassador in the early 20th century. The house dates from the 1850s. It was later owned by J.P. Morgan, the banker, who donated it to the United States, and that's why it became the house of whoever was the US Chief of Mission in London. So Joseph P. Kennedy was appointed here. He was a major donor to the Democratic Party and a close friend of Franklin D. Roosevelt. So John F. Kennedy was 21 years old when he came here. He just graduated from Harvard. He attended some classes at the London School of Economics, where Harold Laski was one of his professors. And John F. Kennedy wrote Why England Slept, about the United Kingdom's policy of appeasement, and it suddenly became a huge bestseller. So Joseph P. Kennedy, he thought that British high society might not like him. He was an Irish American. Some Irish people disliked Great Britain at the time. Irish people were more nationalistic back then. Moreover, he was a Catholic. There was still a little bit of anti-Catholic prejudice around. However, he was pleasantly surprised. He very much was welcomed by British high society. And one of his daughters married the Duke of Devonshire, who was one of the UK's most exalted aristocrats. Joseph P. Kennedy was writing to Roosevelt, and he was very pessimistic about the United Kingdom's chances of prevailing in the Second World War, saying the Lend-Lease agreement is pointless because the UK is on its last legs, the Blitz is really hammering this country, there's no point in prolonging the agony, and there's no point in propping them up because they're going to lose anyway. Now, some people say this was Anglophobic or he was excessively defeatist, but examining the evidence objectively, well, the information available at the time, his assessment was reasonable. An unprejudiced observer would have to say it did not look likely the United Kingdom was going to prevail. And without the Soviet Union and without the United States, there's really absolutely no way that the British were going to win. Anyway, later on, Barbara Hutton, she donated her residence, Winkfield House in Regent's Park, to the United States, and that's the residence of the US ambassadors ever since. Barbara Hutton, the heir to the Woolworth fortune. You may have seen the 1980s film about her called Poor Little Rich Girl. You can see above the windows these heads of Native American chiefs with their feather war bonnets. So after the United States sold this building, it became the Royal College of General Practitioners. College here doesn't mean an education institution, it's a professional association. So general practitioner is what you might call a family doctor. But as you can see, it's undergoing extensive renovation at the moment.